explosive allegations that Trump and Musk are running a scheme with the tariffs. Representative Greg Cesar just called for a massive corruption probe into what he calls a really serious allegation that Trump and Musk ran a tariff scam where countries dodged tariffs by signing contracts with Musk's companies. Now it's all starting to make sense. Listen to this.
Musk continues to find ways to enrich himself while he was virtually running the White House and is still deeply involved in the Trump administration. In breaking news, myself and Representative Gabe Amo and then also Senator Chris Murphy have called for an investigation into these allegations that are really serious. This whole tariff scam has not been about bringing American jobs home, but instead, what Trump has been doing is threatening massive tariffs on countries, and then reporting and leaks have started coming out that these countries are then opening up to Musk's companies and signing contracts or looking at contracts with Starlink as a way of getting out from underneath these tariffs. You could be paying thousands of dollars more a year in your consumer goods because of these tariffs, all so that Trump can basically extort countries to do business with his buddy Elon Musk that bought him the presidency. That is the core of corruption. That is the definition of kleptocracy. And so we need to become a Democratic Party that is anti-billionaire, anti-corruption, and pro-worker. Finally pass a ban on stock trading by members of Congress. Make it illegal for presidents to accept things like a $400 million jumbo jet from a foreign government and say, no, you cannot be a billionaire with contracts with the federal government and then be running the federal government at the same time. That is
okay. This is okay. First and foremost, this makes so much sense because the tariffs are so harebrained. They're so squirrely. And if you notice, right when Trump was inaugurated, Musk was so excited. Everybody he knows he finally got to come out of the closet as a Nazi. But he immediately went in, shut down investigations into himself, rewarded himself contracts, but that's not enough because he wants global dominance. Elon Musk does. There was reporting back that he thought that his spirit was that of an old Roman king or something. I mean, this guy is just like delusions of grandeur. I mean, like a real nutcase. We know Trump is a real nutcase too. And so he's helping him do this. And all of this still, I think, leads to Putin as well, because both of them are severely compromised by Putin. But the Trump administration has fired, and the Supreme Court even said yesterday, yeah, it's okay to fire whoever you want. And so the MAGA movement is surrounded by a lot of enablers who are selling out the American public, who are draining all of the systems that held American power, the economy, the military, our espionage, making sure that nefarious governments are not spying on us. They've just let all of that go. And all of this is because Musk and Trump want to be like kings of the world. And they are obviously facing some friction. And so we're going to be sitting back here with some popcorn. But I believe what this congressman said. I think Musk is still knee deep in with the Trump administration. I think that there have been reports that have come out that said Trump is done with Musk. And it's because the shareholders at Tesla are saying, you've got to quit being in the news for doing bad shit with Trump. And I think he's still knee deep in. You noticed him on the Middle East tour, Middle East circle jerk. But here's Trump again. And I cannot emphasize enough that people who, in my personal life, who would call themselves moderates, that voted for Trump justified it by saying that he's good for the economy, that they like Republican policies. And this has been a myth that has been so successful by the Republican Party, starting in the Reagan era to now, that so many people have been indoctrinated to think that by not taxing billionaires that wealth trickles down, and it doesn't. So here is Mr. Free Markets, Mr. Let the Free Markets Run. Here he is at like 4 a.m. this morning. At Real Donald Trump, and I will never get over it that that's the president of the United States Twitter handle, but I digress. I have long ago informed Tim Cook of Apple that I expect their iPhones that will be sold in the United States of America will be manufactured and built in the United States, not India or any place else. If that is not the case, a tariff of at least 25% must be paid by Apple to the U.S. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Timestamp 4:19 a.m. That's psychotic. Next slide. How much would an iPhone cost if Apple were forced to make it in America? In the $30,000 to $100,000 range. And no, that is not a typo. In fact, if Apple were forced to solely manufacture the iPhone in America, there is a good argument that it would not be able to manufacture any at all. And if they could somehow successfully make the manufacturing transition, capacity would likely be constrained to just a few million units a year. So what is all of this about? Why are we on a 4 a.m. bender attacking Tim Cook? Well, it's been reported that, Trump had his crypto bribery dinner last night, that Tim Cook didn't pay. He didn't play, and he didn't show up. So Trump starts all of these crazy ass tweets. Another tweet that I'll spare you guys from reading is he is now attacking the EU, and he is calling for a 50% tariff with the EU. I'm just going to speculate here, but I guarantee you what happened is last night he's grandstanding with all of the foreign corrupt nationals that are bribing him through his meme coin. And I guarantee you, he said, I can make the markets jump. Y'all can make a bunch of money. Watch this. In the morning, I'm going to pick a fight with these people and their stocks are going to go down. And then I'll give you the heads up as to when I'm going to reverse. And then y'all can pump and dump and make a lot of money. That's what they're all doing. Meanwhile, the American economy is being drained from every stabilizing force in it. Our American military is now turned into a megachurch. Pete Hegseth is over there having prayer groups at the Pentagon. How that makes us safer is beyond me. All right, next up, we have Chris Murphy.
Estimated that 40% of Trump's entire net worth today is due to these two crypto coins that he just launched months ago. So this has been maybe the most lucrative venture he has ever endeavored to begin. All of this money is going straight into his pocket, and he is, as we've seen, trading favors, trading U.S. policy in order to get paid. That is different than a contribution to a campaign that can only be used for political purposes.
Okay, so Chris Murphy, everybody knows he's my favorite senator right now because he has moral clarity. He calls it out constantly, the corruption. He doesn't take the bait of the shiny objects of Trump acting like a nut in the Oval Office, because all of that, Trump's reality TV show, is a complete distraction. Another distraction that the Trump administration is constantly doing is they are, Kristi Noem just announced that she is blocking Harvard from enrolling international students. And this immediately, Harvard is going to file a lawsuit. They already have this morning. Harvard will win. But before I go any further, I want you to understand that every single morning when we prepare for these news episodes, Pumps and I go to an app called Ground News. And here's just an example. On the left reports this Harvard situation with the following headline: Trump administration bars Harvard from enrolling foreign students. And on the right, it says Trump administration terminates Harvard's students' visa program over pro-terrorist conduct at protests. So this is how it's reported on both sides. But the brilliant thing about Ground News is you can go and see the story, see how your crazy uncle MAGA friend is seeing it, and then you can see how the center is seeing it, and then you can see how the left is seeing it. And then they also have this bias distribution page, which is just really fascinating. It helps you become a better citizen to understand this. Join us by going to groundnews.com/IHIP to get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan that Pumps and I use every single day. They are subscriber funded. And my favorite part, of course, is that they are female founded. By subscribing, you're not only getting a tool we all need today, you're also supporting our work. That's ground, GROUND, news.com/IHIP. The link is pinned right below in the show notes. Be a better citizen. You have agency. This is I'm telling you guys, this is the best app on the market. Subscribe today. All right. And lastly, put up this tweet with comment. This is just classic MAGA politics right now. So Rolling Stone reported that the GOP senator, and this of course is Josh Hawley, begs for disaster aid as FEMA snubs another red state. So the pro-life party, MAGA, is saying, no, we're not sending emergency aid. But everybody needs to remember that Hawley voted against FEMA just a couple of months ago. So 2 months ago, he's engaged in the MAGA optics of, we're going to cut all of these things. There's all this, fraud, waste, and abuse. And then you have the governor down, that Sarah Huckabee in Arkansas, who's just a big Trump thumper, right? The biggest Trump thumper. Well, they have all of these natural disasters. This is why we pay taxes. We pay taxes so the federal government can keep us safe and assist its citizenry when national disasters strike. But part of the Project 2025 was to dismantle all of these things because it's a very cruel regime, and the cruelty is the point. And so we have Josh Hawley here, and he's going to speak and he's going to say, we need these funds, and people in Missouri are going to feel like, oh yeah, he's fighting for us. We have a badass senator. Well, no, you have a senator that cherry picks when he thinks government is good and when he thinks it is bad. And so when he wants the electoral optics of voting with Trump so that it plays well with his red state base, he does that. Everybody needs to cut through all of this shit finally, once and for all, and acknowledge government cannot be run like a business. Businesses harm and injure people because they favor profits more than they do their customers' well-being. Look at the cigarette company, look at the oil and gas companies, the pharmaceutical companies, and on and on and on. It is insane. And so when I go back to the first video I played where we had the congressman talking about billionaires and talking about the corruption, moving forward, I think we need to amplify voices that are completely not beholden to these corporations and only lift up corporations that are playing a long-term game here with American democracy. Because in the short term, yeah, you can probably give Trump some money and he's going to favor you and keep his Twitter and his lie social from berating your company. But he's not a spring chicken, and he's a second-term president, so this is a lame duck presidency. And so we need to lift up the corporations that are not bending the knee and that say, look, we are only going to support candidates that favor democracy, that are not beholden to corporations. So I think we need a merger of the private sector plus Democratic politicians and even Republican politicians that are sick and tired of being beholden to corporations, insider trading, and fleecing the American public, because everything in the United States is being completely drained out, and Trump just puts up a shiny object for all of us to look at and talk about. Meanwhile, everything is set up for Trump, Musk, and a few others to win at this. All right, that's all I have for today, and we'll see you all later.